Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting of the Public Information and Communications Subcommittee together. It's a little after 4 o'clock on Thursday, the 12th. There's a few things that I sent around I'd like to talk through while we're getting organized here. And I can pull it up on screen if you want to kind of work through that. Let me do that. All right, so unfortunately, the way WebEx does this is I can't, if people raise hands, I can't see them while I'm sharing my screen. So just shout out if you have questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's only 5 of us, so it should be pretty easy.
Yeah. I think we're a pretty easy group. I've been involved with other subcommittees that weren't as easy. So I guess the first question is, I was not at the Fairway Village meeting last week where we had our first ever public presentation of our official charter amendment presentation and script. I got an email back from Phil Landisberg that he thought things went well. Terry Niles said she thought things went well. I don't know if Eric was able to join. Kim, I believe you were there.
Yeah, Eric joined in a little bit. He had to call in, so it was a little weird, but he was able to do his section.
All right. What section did he do?
I don't remember. Like we kind of broke it up.
Oh, because I think he was on the 5 district committees.
Mm-hmm.
So our next one right now is scheduled for September 7th with Maureen and I presenting to the Fircrest Village. I know of one that's we'll talk about in a minute that's kind of in progress to officially get requested for a speaker or two. And I would imagine we're going to be getting others as summer vacations wind down and people start realizing, oh, we got an election coming up. I thought we just did that. Well, no, we got another one. So be prepared. We'll probably get several other requests as they come in. Did I hear Anthony joining us?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So the only person we're missing is Deanna, who will not be able to join this meeting, but we're going to assign her lots of things. Actually, I have a couple of things. She emailed me earlier. She volunteered to help out with a couple of things. So I guess what if that presentation in script or the speaker's notes worked, I would just ask if there's anything else that comes in that we might want to adjust that. But if not, that would be the one I think we should, when anybody is asked to speak on the charter amendments, especially if they're being asked to speak on behalf of, as a commissioner or on behalf of the commission, that's probably the one we're gonna keep using as we go through.
Did they use the notes anyway?
I want to, let's see. Bridget, what was your question?
Yeah, is that presentation available to look at anyway?
Yes, it's actually the one to Fairway Village is up on our webpage.
Yeah.
The speaker notes is a separate document, and I can send both of those to you, Bridget.
That would be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Maureen, I think you had a question.
Did they use the notes? Did anybody go off script, Kim?
No, and there was a little bit of confusion with the notes too. There are just a few spots I have some suggestions, so I'm not sure what their process is to make, like, there's very slight changes. But yeah, people were unsure whether they were supposed to read through the slide and then read through the notes on the bottom or how that was supposed to be done. So it's kind of a mix of both depending on the slide.
script was set up to read with the slide being shown. So if there are concerns, confusion, et cetera, why don't you, because this committee owns that presentation. So if you've got input on that, send it to me and I'll um, work on revising or updating or even creating a transition from the previous slide note as part of that script, and then we can share it with our group here since we're the group that owns that presentation.
Okay, yeah, so how do you want to move forward with that?
Do you have them in
Uh,
notes sections and by slide?
Yeah, each slide has a substantial number of notes that form the
Mhm.
script, and there's a separate document that is our script, which is basically taking all the speaker notes and putting it into a document.
What does that look
So
like?
yeah, let me what I'll do is I'll pull that up because um, it's so sometimes it was just a quick download of PowerPoint. Um, stop sharing, and then I will reshare this. So essentially, it looks like that. So the speaker notes that are at the bottom are in the PowerPoint, but when you're running a PowerPoint as a slideshow, you don't get to see the notes. So this is meant to go with that.
Okay, yeah, I just had the notes like in the PowerPoint. I don't have that document.
Oh, I thought I had shared that with people who were speaking. So what I'll do is I'll email this around because this is all yeah, these are the speaker notes that are attached to the PowerPoint right now. This is just a dump. So I'll
But it's
send this around.
the same thing, right? The notes
It's
in
the
the
same thing.
PowerPoint. Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
So I'll send this around after, and then Bridget, this is what I was talking about. So I'll just send this to all of us, all the committee members. You can take a look and then make suggestions. I want to try to run this, refine this as we go along.
And Bridget, I just put the link to the PDF in the chat, so you can just click on that. It'll take you right there.
Yeah, and that's just the PowerPoint show.
Right, not the notes. Yep.
Okay, let me pull this agenda thing back up. All right, so that's that. Any questions? But basically, I think if that worked well, essentially it takes our town hall presentation and the one that Maureen and I did to the Neighborhood Association Council and just expanded, added the 2 county council amendments and added some script that took it into, provide a little bit of background into these different amendments that we did not have as much during the town halls. But now it makes it more robust. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't campaign for or against these, which is what we're trying not to do as we're speaking as public officials. Any questions?
No, it went really well. Yeah, the only question we were really left with was whether or not people were supposed to read the slide and the notes or just the notes. But that was it. But it went really well.
And actually, the notes are set up so you don't need to read the slide.
That's what I thought, and that's what I did. But then I noticed, yeah, people are kind of bouncing between the two. So
Yeah, and it's for me it's a little difficult because I tend not to use notes when I make presentations. I tend to just practice and then and run with it. So and I've
and
always been taught don't read the slide.
yeah,
Um,
my only other suggestion would be giving people the flexibility to, so it's like, you know, I would read the notes that were there, but you know how we all kind of talk a little different, like, you know, our cadence and how we speak. And so like, you know, making sure people don't sound like a robot, that they have some flexibility in how they say that sentence that it is, and how they pause and stuff too. Just letting folks know that. So I definitely did that just so I didn't sound like a robot.
Okay. So when we get down to item number 3 on the agenda, I want to talk a little bit more about that because the question is, um, how are we designating other people to speak on our behalf? And I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. I did want to cover the requests for speakers and how we're doing assignments because I know that question came up in our last meeting. And so at this point, there's no formal process. There's just kind of a this is what we've been doing, which is essentially if it's a neighborhood group like Fairway Village or Fircrest, we find which district it's in and who represents that district, and then try to rotate those. But also at this point, knowing that there are people out there speaking on behalf of the commission, and knowing that at this point, the only 2 people who are designated to speak on behalf of the commission are the 2 co-chairs. And so I do want to talk about, well, how do we make that pool bigger so we don't always have to have a co-chair showing up at these presentations. And right now we've got this one in Fircrest is Maureen and myself. So we're set for that. But again, it's District 3 and it's the next rotation for District 3. Have to talk with Jeff Angelo. I think he's the next one in District 3 that would be up if we get another one. I don't know. I noticed he was not volunteering for subcommittee, so I don't know if he would be interested in volunteering to be part of the Speakers Bureau or not. So we probably need to figure out who wants to be part of that rotation. So the requests through the portal, I was thinking be more of the formal requests, and that's where we can, as this committee, can assign how that works. And I said this is just how the 2 that have come in so far. That's how we've done it. We are anticipating a direct request from a group, and it's likely that that group and others may request specific people to speak to them. I'm not one that would like to go back. I'm a little uncomfortable going back and telling them, oh no, we don't want that person to speak to you, even though we requested them. I'd like to honor their request, but also understand that if they're requesting a certain person and they're speaking on behalf of the commission, maybe we need to have somebody else there, like a co-chair or somebody else designated to be able to accompany them to those type of requests. So that was just my thought, but I guess I wanted to throw these first 2 out there for your discussion, your thoughts.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I think people, if someone's requested, that's great. I mean, that's an established relationship. I think that's golden. And then having someone else there, it's always good to have at least 2 commissioners present. So I don't have issues
agree.
with that.
Others okay with that approach?
Yes.
All right. Must be time to go watch the Field of Dreams game. So the other is we have talked about, but we haven't officially done anything about using Marilee McCall and Judy Bailey from the city of Vancouver, and maybe others. I don't know of any other cities that have dedicated neighborhood coordinators like Clark County and City of Vancouver do, but put out an email to them saying that if any of your neighborhoods would like to have somebody from the Charter Review Commission speak on the charter amendments, we're more than happy to provide that. Just get in touch with us, I guess, or through who's the person at the county who's been fielding the portal? Is that Johnny, or is
Joni,
that
yep, Johnny, sorry.
maybe contact Johnny, and we'll just put out a little press release to them, or just an email to them. What are your thoughts about doing something like that?
I think we should. Marilee sends out regular emails on updates to the neighborhood leaders in the county. We might want to expand it to those who are not currently certified as neighborhoods, but have a leader. So having an email go out to them would be great.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that. And I know the neighborhood you're talking about, Bridget. I'm not quite sure how to do that through either of those if they do not. I don't know if they still email those that are not certified
Yeah,
or have been decertified. I
they
believe
do
they still
because they
do.
come to meetings. So
Yeah.
there's a couple of them. Yeah.
All right. So if that's okay, I can send an email to Johnny tomorrow and just asking if she could, on our behalf, send an email to Marilee and to Judy Bailey, offering a speaker or two at neighborhood meetings if they would like.
You could also have Mary Lee put it on next door.
That's what I was just going to mention.
Okay.
So that was my question, though. What would be better there is a post for individuals directing them to where they can find answers to their questions. Because they're not all the matching neighborhoods. So that neighborhood might not have a meeting coming up or might not call a meeting to talk about the charter. But getting out the word on where they can find out about it would be good for Marilee to post.
All right. Yeah, I know.
And we may want to talk to HOAs. I mean, we still haven't even done a presentation to any of the city councils in the big six. Ridgefield, Camas, Washougal, Battleground, Yakult, Ambler. We haven't done anything for them. And their city councils, especially if they're open, might want to do a Q&A or something. Because if we can, we talked about this one before in comms, but if we can get political support early on to support the charter amendments and understand it, then they can evangelize for us as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was thinking of that myself, especially with Ridgefield City Council, since that's kind of my local connection. And I know for the Commission on Aging, we do use the county planning staff to reach out to the different city clerks or city administrative assistants to get a time on their agenda. And so we can ask, I'm not sure if that would be Johnny or who at the county would do that, but probably honor the protocol that it'd be somebody from the county reaching out to the different cities and offering that.
Yeah. I don't know if Mary Lee does that either. I probably
Don't think so.
I think
I bet
they
it's
can
Johnny.
figure it out, or if we have, I mean, I don't want to break protocol, but I'm close enough to Ridgefield City Council. I wouldn't have a problem reaching out to, oh gosh, now it's Julie Ferris to see if that would be something, or Steve Stewart. But
Steve, that's funny. I just talked about him today.
yeah, oh,
We were talking about stormwater drainage, and that's the only name I know for that. So
stormwater drainage and Steve Stewart, the city
Yep.
manager of Ridgefield, invoked stormwater drainage.
because when he was on county council, he just
Oh.
he filled my brain with it. So
Well,
anyway.
he was also the director of Friends of Clark County when they first formed, so that might be
Mhm.
too. All right, I will reach out, work with the county manager's staff tomorrow morning and see what we can do about putting out that word.
So
If you-
are we building a list of other places where we might sort of make sure that people know where to seek information about the Charter Review Commission? I mean, you've just mentioned the county that way. There's also the Community Action Advisory Board's email list includes about 200 organizations and nonprofits and service providers, and not really promoting the change, but just saying they may want to check out the information that's being proposed. So that would be Rebecca Royce who would do that. So, although it might have to be cleared with Vanessa, I don't know.
I would say at this point, let's start preparing a list of who we want to reach out to.
Yeah.
I also want to make sure we keep it manageable so that we don't have somebody say, thinking they've lined up a speaker and then that meeting comes up and nobody shows up. So I want to make sure that we've got things centralized and coordinated.
Yeah, I guess I was talking more about outreach than I was speaking engagement, so I'm sorry.
So I think it's whoever coordinates those groups. So if it's Rebecca or Vanessa Gaston or whoever else in community services, we'd probably work through them and they could put the word out as well to their various committees and boards if they're interested. But I would, as much as possible, like to centralize and coordinate through Johnny, since that's kind of the way she's been set up on this, so that we know we can keep a calendar and we know we can get speakers to them.
You know, another group that we've completely ignored, all the Republican organizations in this county, the Clark County Women Republicans and the general GOP. We've not done anything to reach out and evangelize to them, and that would be a coup. That would be a really good thing to get everybody organized and involved in that.
Well, I haven't done anything for the Democrats either.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was
assume
gonna
that,
say.
Well, somebody else is doing that.
Well, I was gonna say there's been no formal reach out to either partisan party, so I don't think it reflects poorly on us to not. And to be honest with you, I don't know how comfortable I am going to the local parties if one of our amendments is to remove partisan politics from Clark County. I mean,
Well-
they're the people most in the know, honestly, probably about the charter, some of our local parties, and so I don't know how much outreach needs to be done for them. I mean, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not. I'm one that proposed doing that early on when that proposal came up, and we just didn't take it anywhere as far as our initial public outreach. So I'm okay. I'm comfortable presenting to either any of the partisan groups. So I think all we're doing is we're presenting information. We're not presenting a for or against statement. They can speak out against it, and that's their right to do so. But I'm okay doing that, and I know some people might be a little uncomfortable doing that in a
Well,
partisan setting. So I think that would be one I'd be willing to volunteer for if we're going to provide that outreach.
I guess
Me
what's
too.
getting blurry for me is I want to be careful about the groups we're intentionally asking at the expense of ones we're not asking, because I don't want it, like, at what point is this, it's the balance between, I don't want to be accused of, well, then we didn't contact the NAACP. We didn't reach out to this group, but we reached out to this group, and we need to be able to justify why we are reaching out to certain groups and then why we are waiting for other groups to reach out to us. And I would prefer we have some sort of methodology in regards to that. I don't want it to be sort of a willy-nilly process, because I think it shows favoritism to certain organized groups in the county.
That's fair.
Well, and I'm hoping that each of the 15 of us, have enough constituencies and contacts with groups like LULAC and NAACP that they can do that outreach themselves, since they are elected officials representing groups and people. I could talk with the county to see if they normally, because what I could see is reissuing our media release about offering speakers and just making sure it gets to whoever's on the list. I'm hoping that the Clark County Republican Party and Republican women, as well as the Democratic side, have or look at media releases in case they want to do something about it. I'm assuming that, but I'm not active with them, so I just don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
we should each, you mentioned we've each got connections with different organizations. It might be worth building, just a list of all the organizations we can think of, and then making sure we balance out, as Kelsey said, that we do have a broad enough spread of that very document. The public relations release would be fine, but that we
Yep.
connect with each of them.
Well,
Yeah,
and just so you guys know too, on the comms committee, that was one of Dorothy's tasks. So she actually started building a list. It's not all accurate, but at least it's a start. So I'm going to pull up that and just email it to everybody now too.
Yeah, we can add.
It's a start. It'll, when you see a list like that, sometimes it makes you think, oh, we didn't include, oh yeah, I thought of, and it stimulates your thoughts.
And that's
Well-
not necessarily for speaking. That's just to make sure they know where to find the information. Because I don't think people do.
Well, and that's what I want to get to when we talk about the FAQs and having that
Yeah.
information, because right now a PowerPoint show with just the slides is maybe 10% of what they need to know.
Right.
What I want to think through this so we aren't coming across as exclusionary, because it's not that. It might be more an omission, an inadvertent omission, but I want to make sure that we're reaching out. And maybe if we have memberships or we associate with different organizations, I'm okay with commissioners just reaching out directly to them, because I know that I give updates to the Labor Roundtable every other Friday. And that's just because I'm a member and I go, and I would imagine that I don't know if we have anybody who's a member of LULAC who goes, or an
I am a member.
NAACP. Using that constituency, it's already built in, so I think I would say be more than happy to offer that up, Kim, and anybody else who belong to different groups.
I also know Jasmine and such, and others at NAACP, so I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'll work with the county and Bridget. So I know that you would suggest that you have other contacts, especially on the R side. Maybe think about how to get in touch with them. And
Yeah. I was thinking of doing sort of messaging them and saying, hey, I haven't heard you mention this. You got any feedback, sort of deal?
Yeah.
Do you know where to find the information? Because they're very quiet. That's what I.
Well, and I just want to make sure myself that they're not quiet because they just don't know about it, but I would
Exactly.
like to offer the opportunity
Yep.
for them to get to know about it. And they can just decide that they can read our FAQs and other information that we'll be putting up, and that's fine, which is okay with me if that's what they want to do.
We're going to talk about the FAQs later
Yes.
on the agenda. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I will, unless somebody else wants to take this on tomorrow, I'll get in touch with the county manager staff, Johnny and maybe Marilee, and see what we can do to coordinate on getting the word out, getting the word out, offering up speakers.
Just quick question. So reaching out to our own networks and stuff, can it just be us reaching out, or do we need to tell them they need to fill out the thing on the portal? Or can they just tell us, yeah, we want you to come to our next meeting?
I would like to use the different constituencies and relationships that 15 commissioners have, and not make it so formal that they're just think it's getting so bureaucratic. If they want you to come speak at their next meeting, go ahead.
Perfect.
But I think making sure that we document when people do, and making sure that we have some sort of oversight, like maybe a post presentation like report that we write up or something that just allows us to know who we talk to and all of that sort of stuff, so that we have that for hindsight and for future commissions, but also so that as we go through the process, if people are curious, we have full awareness of who's talked to who.
Well, and maybe we need to ask the other commissioners if that they are invited just to give an update or a presentation to let us know, so we aren't sending two people to the same meeting who don't know that the other one is coming.
That's what I was going to say. When we devised that intake to request a speaker, we made it really simple, because how else are we going to track it all? Because what if Anthony and I are both members of a group, but I don't even know he's a member? So I'm contacting the president, and you know what I mean? The left hand, we'll look like disorganized nuts. So it's nice to have a process.
Well, I
So-
do know that there's a commission calendar. It looks like it needs updating, but I saw a commission calendar on our website. I think, Anthony, you've been started that one, I assume.
I think it was
But
kind of a collection of places that brought it together.
Yeah, right now it needs some updating because it doesn't have a lot of things. But you know, if we could, if they want to, or maybe we can encourage them to use the portal just so we have that all documented and scheduled, so we aren't confusing people. But I also understand if it's just an informal, hey, can you show up next week and give us an update? That's going to happen.
Maybe then if somebody gets asked, even just the commissioner can put the thing in through the portal to say, hey, I talked to this, essentially.
Yeah.
Or just,
Any way to document it.
So Chuck, you said you were going to talk to Marilee. One of the things the county neighborhood association coordinator does is prepare the neighborhood association newsletters, which is 2 per year, and they go to all the residents. And we've cut down to virtually a postcard because the newsletters got too big and expensive. But the reason I mention it now is typically those people don't meet through the summer, and they'll be getting going with meetings in sort of September, October. And it might be possible to have a little link or a line on those postcards saying, check out the charter amendments that are coming up.
yeah, that's good. And also Judy Bailey does that with the, what are 40 something neighborhood associations in the city of Vancouver.
Yeah.
She does provide input to the newsletters, and actually they house the newsletters.
Yeah. And pay.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember who was on the Charter Yes campaign? Because maybe they would be willing to give us their list of people and groups they spoke with.
Actually, I was.
Okay, well then maybe you
yes.
could call somebody.
Well, I'll just get I can. Again, I want to keep it. I want to kind of keep it not with the perception that we're only talking to the foresight of things. But Cheryl Bledsoe is the one that has that, and I'll reach out to her. She coordinated all of that with the Charter Yes campaign.
We can put it on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, definitely. I don't. Who's doing the Facebook page? Is that the county, or is it somebody in a commission that's updating that?
Well, the last I heard, Johnny was the administrator and Chris and Terry were contributors. That's all I know at this point.
All right. Maybe I'll reach out, or well, somebody. I guess I'm assigning myself all of these things. I can, or somebody else, if they want to step up and volunteer to contact, just reach out to Terry or Chris and make sure that they're aware of what we're doing, and if they could also do the same thing with the Facebook page, put out the request if you want speakers. Here's the portal.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might have not been clear. Johnny posts, but Terry and Chris can post. So it might be
Okay.
easier than we're thinking, because in one email, you can send out your press release to Johnny and Lindsay and the other folks in the comms staff and say, please go ahead and do the press release, put it on next door, da da da. They like it to do it in one group email from one person, because otherwise when everybody comes at them, it's overwhelming and confusing. But you can do it all in one email.
All right. So I just wanted to see what, I guess I'm still connected, but everybody's frozen up on my screen.
It says on my screen that you're starting to share content.
All right. Are you seeing the agenda?
No.
So literally just that message on a black screen.
Okay. So I think what's happening is, WebEx is not responding. So let me see if I can stop my vid. I can't do anything.
If WebEx is being persnickety to you, what you can always do is email it to one of us and we can share it. Because I think that's the way you've got it set up.
But we've all got the agenda, have we? I mean, you can read out
Yeah.
the next item and we can
It's
discuss
it's
it.
the next item, but I was trying to figure out how to stop my video, so if that's causing issues.
Chuck broke
Well,
the internet.
yeah, I did break the. I've had some really weird communication.
You're
And
gone.
there it went. I say this meeting's done. We assign
No.
everything to Chuck. That's my kind of meeting. Now I'm going to go
That's
to Orange Theory.
where WebEx made the decision. Yeah, we lost Chuck.
And what we don't assign to Chuck, we'll assign to Jeff. I think it would be good to reach out to the Republican stuff. We can't assume just because somebody's an R that they wouldn't support it.
Oh, no. And Julie Olson made a statement to the Charter Review Commission and she was in favor of them. So, you know, it's not, there he is.
Here he is.
He's
What
not
about the
moving
big
though.
churches? You know, he's not. Oh, no, he's moving
I'm
now.
gonna stop. Can you hear me at least?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm recording. It looks like it's still recording.
That's
I'm gonna stop
miserable.
my video because it must be something going on. I noticed that we got a subdivision being built across the street. I think they've done something with Comcast because it's kind of screwed things up today. All right, so let me see if I can at least get the agenda back on screen because I wanted to talk about our Speakers Bureau. So we haven't really talked about how we're designating people to speak on behalf of the commission. But I know what I've been doing is working with individual commissioners who are presenting, like Maureen and I worked on the Neighborhood Association Council, and Terry and I worked on the Fairway Village, working with Kelsey on another one coming up that needs to be formalized. I wonder what your thoughts are about how we do we want to formally designate people, or do we want to process that we have a 2 or 3 or 4 people who are the designated speakers, and then they accompany others who might be invited to speak to groups to be part of that, and we just have a kind of a preparation, a rehearsal process. So what are your thoughts about that?
I would say that if a person wants to speak to a group, they need to review the presentation with someone on the comms committee, and have an opportunity to ask any questions. And then I would say for like smaller group meetings or things they're already a part of, that they wouldn't need someone else to go with them. If it's already an organization they're a member of or have a connection to, but maybe for bigger events that will be garnering more attention, I would say a co-chair, if available, would be, you know, in tandem with the person. That would be my preference. I don't want to schlep more work onto the co-chairs, but I think that gives it some formality to the event. And that would be my preference. But I don't think we need to make a huge orchestrated training programs or, you know, you're formalized. I think it can be as simple as you need to Zoom with someone on the comms team, review the presentation, have an opportunity to ask questions, review the FAQs, and you kind of have the blessing to go out and work those groups, you know. And then if it's a bigger event, ask for a co-chair to attend with you, is what my preference would be.
What do the others think?
I can get behind that.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
So
Yeah.
you're saying anybody on the commission could go out by themselves if they sort of reviewed the presentation and were
And
part of a group?
actually run through it. I like, you know, so
Yeah.
that's what we've done before, is to do a Zoom
Yeah.
rehearsal, just so that they get to know the script, they get to know the slides. And actually, I've done is thrown out a few questions that they might get to kind of even rehearse the questions.
But that's what I was going to say is, to me, with a nice, you've got the good presentation and good speaker notes. The questions or the answers to the FAQs, so that people are familiar with how to respond to those, to me is the most important part. I mean, it takes more studying ahead of time, I think, because you
You
don't really know where they're coming from.
Right. The only challenge with that is there's really no way for us to enforce it, right? So I can't enforce whether somebody does a dry run and whether they practice, which a professional should, but I can't enforce that. I can't enforce if they go off script and stuff. So I agree with you guys that I think it should be as elegant and simple as possible, because it doesn't sound like we've had a whole lot of folks besides the ones in this room raise their hands to do these presentations.
There's
Well,
been a
and
few who've been asking about if they get invited. It's not actively going out and seeking speaking engagements, but they are anticipating getting invited.
well, and to your point, Maureen, in terms of we cannot police what commissioners actually say when they're in those settings. And so doing the due diligence of this is the standard presentation that, for consistency's sake, we're trying to spread across the whole community. I feel like we've done our part in saying this is the preferred method of communication and the script. But formalizing the training process isn't going to keep people on that script. Like
I
you
think
said,
it's a lot of
just going to
energy
make more
invested.
work. It's more barriers. It's more work for this committee. But like to Kim's point, you don't want to sound like a robot. So I do get, you know, embellishing or adding things when needed.
Yes.
But I think you're right. Like even if we formalize something, there's no guarantee that what we ask to have presented will be presented. So it's just, I think, way more work for us to make it more difficult for everyone.
And I agree, because it would be just so mind-numbingly boring to just have somebody read the slides and stuff. And once you become familiar, the notes are not that extensive. So once you become familiar with the notes, you can be conversational about it. And it sounds very authentic and natural and organic, but we all know you memorized it. And that's perfect, because that's what we want. And if we need to focus on a particular issue or a district that might, like in District 3 might be changing. This is how. Then we'll be at least familiar with it to go off script. But you can't go off script until you're on it.
That's a good point. The other thing I wanted to bring out, and it gets to item number 5, is there are people who are being asked to give updates to the respective groups, and then being asked, what do they think? There is nothing in state law in that RCW which says you don't give up your right to free speech. So I think it's probably more getting comfortable with what's that line that you where you're giving your personal opinion versus where you're speaking on behalf of the commission, giving information on the amendments versus personally campaigning for or against an amendment. And I'm guessing the sense what I'm hearing more is the different smaller organizations that they might be associated with or members of, rather than a big formal presentation. They're just asked to give, well, what's going on with the charter, and here's some amendments, and then what do you think? I think I want to encourage people to know that just because they got elected on a 15-member commission does not give up their right to free speech. So they have some leeway in that. And that document I sent from MRSC, I think is pretty good. Gives you some context of this, and I think we could just develop those into some guidelines. But
Yeah.
I'd rather not get people just out there presenting as if they're robots and obviously reading from a script, because that really won't go over very well either. But I want to make sure that whoever speaks out there has the adequate resources that they can go out and present the information on these amendments and be able to answer at least what we hope most of the questions. If they can't, they can refer to the FAQs, and if the FAQs don't answer it, we can follow up after the meeting with the group.
And the fact remains that the Charter Review Commission voted overwhelmingly in favor of all these amendments.
Well, they
So-
voted to put them on the ballot.
Okay,
That's the
I
difference.
get it. Yeah, okay.
Now,
Because that's a good point to
It
stress
is,
to
because I
people.
was looking at that thing you sent out, the MSC whatever, and I was thinking, but that's weird because everybody voted in favor of them. But yes, to put them on the ballot.
yeah.
Yeah, so like during our radio show check, we kept saying, and it's going to be up to voters to decide. We just thought it was a good idea to put this before the voters. And so
Yeah.
like that's kind of the
Mhm.
message. And then like when in the Fairview, they asked some questions like about our opinions, and then, in order to not be rude, I was like, I'm taking my commissioner hat off now and just kind of speaking a little bit just on my personal, whatever. But yeah,
And
it's
as
our
long
role.
as you caveat that, because you're speaking to a private group, and if you caveat that I'm speaking on my own personal behalf, I don't see that as being an issue under that RCW.
But that's
Um,
the reason to team up, right? Because
Yes,
then if
it is.
Kelsey and I go out, I can keep her honest, she keeps me honest. And if she forgot to say, oh, Maureen is, or Kelsey is speaking as a private citizen, she can. I mean, we could always get ball caps and you could put a white cap on for commissioner and then green cap on when you're a private citizen, and we make it a joke. But I mean, there's a lot of ways to enforce that, to just encourage that. Are you asking Maureen Commissioner Maureen or Maureen Private Citizen Maureen?
And I plan on deflecting those questions entirely by saying proponents of this amendment would say this, and opponents, people who oppose this, would argue this.
That's right.
Because honestly, there are a couple, if I'm being frank, I don't know until it's sitting in front of me how I am honestly going to vote.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to take that hat off and mislead the public when it comes down. Like, if someone cares enough about my opinion, I don't think anyone does, but I don't want to persuade someone to vote a certain direction when I myself am not sure that's the way I'm going to vote. So just that, I plan on deflecting those and just saying this is the argument someone would make for it, and this is what someone would say why it's not needed.
So the one caution I would give everybody on the commission is there are some forums that are countywide and very public, like filibusters is going to be broadcast countywide. League of Women Voters is a public forum that will be broadcast countywide. Those forums are more set up where we are speaking on behalf of the commission as public officials presenting information. And I can tell you, at least personally, if I'm asked in any of those sessions what my personal opinion is on these measures, I'm going to decline. because those are meant for public information rather than a pro and con forum or a private forum. You know, the smaller groups, you know, that conversation will probably go on, and commissioners who are probably members of that group or affiliated with that group are probably going to be asked that. And that's not a countywide public setting either. So now I managed to make everybody speechless. So would anybody want to take on kind of writing a general guidance? It just has to be a page, like a guidance page. It might be a page or two of bullets, using that MRSC thing as a guideline. But would anybody like to take on writing some type of a guidance?
Isn't that what we asked Chris Cook for?
She won't provide it. I had it, actually had a discussion with her this week on RCW 42.17a.555, and she's basically responding to questions. And we need to remind the Ranked Choice Voting Subcommittee they need to come up with those questions of her. She's not going to write the document for us.
She's not going to even give us the paper.
No. So
okay, all right, fine. So that's a dry well. I get it.
My thought is to start with that MRSC guy, which I think is really good, and just personalize it for our commission use. But that document does give some pretty good guidance as to when you can state your personal opinion and when it's a more of use of public facilities.
Does it also overlap with whether somebody works for the county, whether they're a staff person and a commissioner? Do we have any, is my question.
You're on the phone with one of them.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah.
that. So, and what, and it's very clear that even a public email, using it to state an opinion or set up a pro or a con campaign meeting, that is in violation. And so if we're there as official representatives of the Charter Review Commission, and my discussions with Chris and others err on the side of being conservative, that if you're there as a public official, treat that as being a public facility and don't campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're giving an update to a group you're a member of, and you make it very clear if you're asked for personal opinions that you're giving your personal opinions, that is still allowable.
We could assign this to Deanna.
She did actually offer that, so I might work with her directly after this. And
Yeah, I'm hesitant because it's a legal, there are legal layers of meaning there that
well,
be
I've been on this side before, and so I think I can take that experience and work with Deanna's legal brain to come up with some quick guidance there.
Perfect.
You know what, though? Honestly, you guys, I don't know if we need a one pager, because how many people are actually going to read it, and how many people are going to follow it? The ones that we want to follow it probably won't. And the ones that we want to, like Kelsey just said, okay, I'm speaking as Kelsey, private citizen. That's all you have to do. Or you can say proponents and opponents, people who are for this. That's all. That covers all bases without having to spend time making a document that probably, Chuck, while I love documenting, nobody's going to read it.
Well, they can choose not to read it, but we've had several requests to produce it, and so I want to make sure we do.
Oh, really?
Yes. And this has come as things have moved on and people are getting into this new experience of being an elected official and having put something on the ballot, and still being an elected official. What do you do? And for those who've never been a member of a transit agency or a county board or a school board, you probably wouldn't have that experience. And so just having something to fall back on, just as a kind of a guide. They've been asking for that. I'd say I've had 4 or 5 people ask me about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's good. I didn't know there were that many people interested.
So we have people leaving at 5?
Yeah.
Oh, 5?
I can
I have a
go.
hard stop.
I can go another 10 minutes, or try to keep this to another 10 minutes. But does anybody need to leave now?
I do. Sorry.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
I do too. I can wait. I can stay till 5:05 and then I have to go. So I got
All
4
right.
more minutes.
Let's then. I want to assign pulling the FAQs together to people. Deanna volunteered to do that. I know that 2 of the subcommittees have put together FAQs, but we're going to need a few more.
I'm
I'd be
happy to work on that.
All right, so let me put this down. So FAQ group. All right, Deanna and Bridget. Did I hear any other volunteers?
That's a nice
So I
tight
guess
group.
I'm on the volunteer for
I'll
kind of for a side thing. So my interest is in getting our website to better be a educational resource for what we're putting out there. So I think on kind of the other side of that is people get the FAQs developed, helping work with the county and determine the best way to get them posted along with our amendments, so that there's a good one-stop shop on all of that. That's not overly confusing or wordy.
Do you want to work directly with the county staff on that? Because right now I've just been working with Johnny and Kristen to get these things up, but it hasn't been a strategic plan. It's just that, can you put this in a conspicuous place? And that's
Yeah,
what we've got. So if you want to
I
work,
mean, I work with them on some other things as well, or going to be shortly. So it's really not too far of a stretch for me to work with them a little bit on this as well. And
I'd be
help.
happy if you take that on.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been my interest from day one, but then kind of waited until this transition to this subcommittee to make sure that, there was no concerns, or that as it was being built out, that we had kind of a group of people who could help provide a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh set of eyes.
All right.
Does that include working with Chris and Terry on posting items to the charter Facebook page?
Johnny can do that.
Yeah, and that's all kind of, I think, in place. So my interest is more on the web page, because I think
Okay.
then that page can be posted on the Facebook as, hey, if you have questions, when the ballot comes out, and
Yeah.
and all of that. So as long as
So
we have a one-stop shop, I think is going to be important
Yeah.
for those questions to be answered, and the FAQs will be an important part.
did I hear somebody volunteering to work with Chris and Terry on the Facebook?
No,
I was just saying it's not necessary, really. If he gives his stuff to Johnny, it's a direct line. They can post anything anytime they want to, but
All right.
or
So
frankly, Anthony
let's just
could.
go with, let's just go with that. I'd like to have Anthony work on that, maybe get the calendar
yeah, get all of that updated.
spiffied up, and get the bill trackers spiffied up and things like that. So
Yeah, that's kind of what inspired it, was to try to figure out how to get the bill tracker working on there, because my original build apparently did not play well with the website. It's okay, I only
All right.
spent so many hours on it.
Well, let's start winding. Somebody have a question?
Going back to the FAQ, was Chris Goodwin involved with that originally?
Yep.
Okay.
He
And
did.
just whoever was originally involved with it, it might be worth reaching out just to see if they still want to be involved.
All right, I'll ask Chris. I think Dorothy did some too, didn't she?
Now, I think it was Chris mainly. He did a lot of
All
heavy
right.
lifting.
I'll reach out to Chris and get
Bye,
him,
guys.
Deanna, Bridget, and myself together.
Okay. Bye, guys.
All right, thank you.
And I'm happy to proofread that kind of stuff. So just let me know.
So
Okay.
I have a question on the FAQs, just while there's a couple left. Have we ever, I mean, the first question most people ask is sort of how much is this going to cost? Have we ever done any analysis on the financial implications of any of these amendments?
The only one that I've done anything on are the ethics,
Oh.
where I've presented to that committee what Pierce County is budgeting for their Ethics Review Commission per year. And the only other one would be the 5-district one, where we indicated that if that passes, there would no longer be the 20% boost for the council
Right.
chair.
Wouldn't the DEI one have an impact too?
It would, but in the discussions that I've had with people, it would be up to the county manager's office to work with council on budgeting for that out of their existing resources. So I'm not sure how to answer the budget question.
Okay.
Since, it would be up to the county manager to figure it out.
And I think we reached out to the county manager about that too, and we haven't heard back. So,
Well,
Is it-
and we did hear back from her on that, when would it kick in if it passes? And she said immediately on passage, they'd work to budget for or find a way to budget for it. So that language is actually in that amendment.
Okay. It was just
But
a major thing last time. I just.
yeah, no, I'd
people
say
will
let's when we get this FAQ group together, let's come up with these and come
Yeah.
up with the responses.
Okay.
All right. Well, I know people need to run, so we've gone a little over. So thank you. I'm going to stop
Thank you.
recording, and then let's adjourn.